Hi, my name is Joshua Galindo, and today I'm going to be talking about how to access the various functions that Tableau offers. Now, I figured I would start with a blank sheet and just kind of work myself through it so that you could see how to connect data from Excel and then all of the functionalities that the software offers. So the first, when you open up a new workbook, you're going to see this data tab here that says connect to data. Now, there are various files in which you can connect to, but today we're going to be working with an Excel file. Once you click on Excel file, you'll see this window open. I have the file that I want to use. I'm using a raw data file for this A3 project. Click open, and then it may take a few seconds, and then the software will read it. Now you will notice the same thing that you see here. All of the columns and raw data that you had in your Excel sheet, Tableau will automatically populate. Now, if there was anything that you wanted to change, let's say we wanted to change the column name, you could just change it just by double clicking. Now, some of the data in here within the rows, you're not able to edit as much. You're going to want to do that in your raw data file or the Excel sheet that you're working with. But once you have the data populated and Tableau has connected to the file that you want, then we're going to want to go to Sheet. This is where the chunk of Tableau and all of its true functions really come to life. So the first one that I'm going to be wanting to create is I want to create a bar chart, and I want to look at Lexile level by school and assessment. Now you see up here you have columns, you have rows. Here you have your dimensions and your measures. You can tell by the ABC or the number on the side. So for me, what I want to look at is Lexile level. So I know I'm going to be looking at this below grade level. We'll put that here. Now, one of the things that you notice here is that Tableau wants to automatically default to a sum function. Now, I don't want a sum, I want an average. So I would click on this down arrow. I'm going to go to measure, and then on the side, average. And then Tableau will automatically change that. The next one I want to look at is percent grade level or above Lexile level. Just drag it and drop. Same thing, automatically defaults to sum, change my measure to average. So now, right now, I see that I have average, grade level or above, and then grade level below. Now, let's say I wanted below to be at the very bottom. I could just move this over on the side, and all of a sudden, above is on top and below is on the bottom. Now, for my columns, I want it to be, let's start by assessment. Now you can notice we broke it down by 6th grade EOG, 7th grade end of grade 8th, 9th literature and composition, and then American literature and composition. Now, if I was a district official and I wanted to see, okay, just what are we as a quick snapshot across the entire district, you could look at something just by assessment. But most of the times we're going to want to see, okay, how is the assessment data looking by individual school? Now you notice here that each of the tests have been coupled, and then under each, we have the names of all of the schools. Now let's say I wanted to see all of the test data by school and not be coupled by assessment. Well, I could just click on school name and drag it in front, and then Tableau will automatically function the data out so that it's all the data is sifted and filtered by each individual school. So I could look at Davis Middle School and see 6th, 7th, 8th, and the students who took the 9th grade literature and composition exam. Now, when I look at this here, I see that it's a lot of blue. So let's say I want to individualize each column and that each assessment that I'm looking at has a different color. So I would come to my Dimensions tab, click on Assessment, drag it down to this marks place that you see here. Here you have color, size, label. So I want all my assessments to be a different color. So I'm just gonna have assessments right over color, drop it in, and all of a sudden, all of my individual assignments are color coded. Now, anytime you look at anything in this marks field, this card on the side will automatically populate. Now let's say you can click on this little down arrow. There are various things in which you can do. So in this case, I want to hide card. I don't want to see it. Now, one of the things that I like to look at is when I'm looking at large data sets like this, is I like to see the individual data populated on top. So as you can see, if I hover over each of the columns, I am seeing this automatic pop-up window that pops up. It tells me the assessment, the school name, which are what I had in my columns. And then it's also telling me all of my data set, which I had in the rows. So you could create a data label, or you could just hover over the particular column that you're wanting. So for me, we see that on this column, we have 0 to 100, and then here 0 to about 80. Now, when I'm looking at data, I like for my axes to all be the same. So on this one, I just want to kind of double click. You'll get this edit axis. Now Tableau, the default is going to include an automatic. And what the automatic does is we'll start at 0, and then we'll look for the highest number there, and then we'll create the top end axes. But I want to do a fixed. I want my fixed to be at 100. I don't need to click OK or anything. Once I'm done, my chart has already changed, and then just exit out. So you can hear now that both axes go 0 to 100. Now let's say you're someone who wanted to have the individual label on each column. So for me, you can really click anywhere. So I'm gonna just hover over this column and I'm gonna right click. Once you right click, you get a whole other set of options that you're able to do. So I want to do select all. Select all will highlight each of the columns. I'm gonna right click again. And when I right click, I'm gonna go mark label, always show. This will automatically put the actual data on the column. So at quick glance, I don't need to hover. I could just actually look at each of the columns and figure out what is the data. Now, looking at this huge data spreadsheet with all of the bars and data and each of the schools, I want to be able to filter out, right? I'm an individual, let's say I'm a content specialist, and I only want to see how Davis Middle School is doing, and I don't want to see all of the other schools. You can pretty much right click anywhere. So in my right click, I want to look for this filter function. Now, when it's doing the filter, it's going to allow you to filter by any of the options in which you have by columns and rows. So in this case, I want to filter by school name. So here we see that all of them are checked. So let's say I only want Davis. I click on Davis, and then it will automatically populate and filter out just the information associated to Davis. Now let's say I wanted to take this a step further, and I didn't want to just look at Davis Middle School, but all I wanted to see was Davis Middle School 7th grade EOG. I didn't want to see 6th or 8th or American Literature. So right click, filter, and now I want to filter by assessment. So let's say I said I wanted Davis and I only wanted 7th grade. And so there you go. Tableau will automatically filter out based on what I check here. So let's say I only want to see 7th and 8th grade Davis. Click on 8th grade, automatically will populate Davis Middle School for 7th and 8th grade. I have my labels, so I can click on here, or I could hover over the column and then get a snapshot of all the information that I needed. Now, let's say I wanted to compare middle school and high school cluster, right? So we can look at just to see. So I got middle school and high school. I want only 9th grade literature and composition. So I have the students who took the American literature exam in 8th grade, and then how they compare to the ninth grade counterparts at the high school. Now, since we're looking at ninth grade only, we can see that both columns are the same color because it's the same assessment, because we had assessment to be differentiated by color. Now, let's say this is kind of the format of rows and columns that we wanted, but let's just say we wanted to quickly change it to where our rows were our columns and our columns were our rows. So you could select. Now, if you just click once, it will only pick that one. You could also do a shift function to highlight both. Drag it. Do the same for the column, school name and assessment, bring it down. And then Tableau will automatically change the type of chart that you are looking at to match your rows and columns. Let's say I wanted assessment first, and then by school name. Let's say I wanted below and front. So you can see just easily on here that when you look at your rows and columns, there's an easy functionality and it's very user-friendly. It's just depending on where the user is dropping the information into the column and the rows. Now you can see that I click this arrow here. This arrow is your back function. So let's say you make a mistake and you're like, no, I want to go back. Just click the arrow and it will take you back. So we're back to where we originally started. Now on here, same thing. Let's say we need to give this a title. So we were looking at Lexile level by school name and assessment. So I'm going to double click on sheet 1. This window will pop up and I want it to be Lexile level by school and assessment. Now let's say we wanted to bold this. We wanted this to be a little bit bigger. Let's say we wanted for it to be in Times New Roman. You could really pick any font in which they have here. So for the time's sake, we'll just pick Times New Roman. Let's see. You could do pretty much any font you wanted. So we'll just pick a basic font. We will stick with Times New Roman. So let's find it. And okay. And there you go. Now, same thing up here. If you wanted to change school name and assessment, you could change your sorting. You can change your fields. So this is pretty much what we wanted to see. On here, we can look at adding additional assessments. We could add additional schools if we wanted. So I really like the functionality that Tableau allows you to offer when we're looking at filtering, when we're looking at colors or labels, the changing of rows and columns. If you were trying to do this same type of function in Excel, it would require the user to write extensive formulas and codes, looking at like query functions, joining, text join, pivot tables, charting, if and if statements, for you to be able to create this type of filtering and functionality that Tableau easily does within a matter of a few seconds. So this is the first data set that we are looking at. So the first one was looking at Lexile level by school and assessment. So we will continue. We'll just click all for all of them so they're all populated again. So remember, anything that you want to change, you can quickly change it through rows and columns. We can change the title if we wanted to change it. We can change how we differentiate the data. So I want to go back and say, okay, I want to just look at individual assessment data by individual school. Roll across. So however you as the user want to present that data, it's really up to you. And you could really change this in real time and everything is updated for you within that moment. So thank you for this particular one. This was looking at Lexile level by school and assessment. We will move on in the next few videos to look at software usage and performance school data.